Hello to all my dear followers. Welcome to the 6th season of What If RIAS GREMORY was transported to the world of Naruto. I've left a card up here with all the chapters. If you want a 6th season, just fill out the comments section.
Part 46. Rain Village. In a secluded place, the man who had previously been at Jiraiya's mercy was seen walking calmly through the heavy rain. He noticed nothing until many paper butterflies surrounded him, and a woman with purple hair, adorned with a paper ornament, formed from the various leaves that were flying. Seeing that the man didn't move, she created a spear from her paper, but instead of aiming at the restrained person, the spear crashed into the shadow behind him. The woman watched impassively as the shadow moved, but before she could react, a burst of oil hit her, yet her imperturbable gaze remained unchanged. Conan, seeing how the man separated from the bound man, untied his bonds, and the man paled upon seeing the woman with the paper ones. Ninja, shock, Miss Angel-sama. Conan watched impassively as he moved a little further ahead. Conan, serene, leave now, we'll take care of it. The man nodded as he jumped through the tubes of the structure beside him. Ninja, embarrassed, I'm so sorry, Conan-sama is very skilled. The woman said nothing, knowing perfectly well that. Conan, serene, it's true, I never expected to see Jiraiya-sensei here. The white-haired man smiled at that, while the man who heard him paled and accelerated his escape from the scene of the clear confrontation. Despite his initial surprise, Jiraiya smiled. Jiraiya, cheerfully, well, it seems the rumors from before were false. I don't see that you didn't die, but you have become a very attractive woman, not even worthy of being called an angel. The woman said nothing, simply infusing chakra into her papers, which quickly reached Jiraiya, who was equally swift. He unleashed a powerful stream of fire, which, thanks to the oil he had previously thrown, intensified. After a few seconds of those intense flames, the woman channeled chakra into her right wing. With a flap of her wings, the gust of wind propelled the fire toward Jiraiya. The woman watched impassively, but she didn't even flinch when the man trapped her with his hair. Conan, serene, I see. I knew it couldn't be that easy, right? Jiraiya, who was standing behind her, chuckled a little. Jiraiya, cheerfully, well, I've taught you many things. I'm glad to see you, a beautiful and powerful woman, a lethal combination, don't you think? Before the man knew what had happened, something struck him, separating Conan from his hair. Conan, Serena, you didn't say I should take care of this. What are you doing here? Jiraiya rubbed his head as he emerged from the hole he had created with his body. Looking up, he noticed a man sitting calmly beside Conan, both with impassive expressions. Jiraiya, serious, your form is different, you've changed a lot since that time, but those eyes are the unmistakable Rinnegan. Animal path, calmly, Conan, keep your distance. I have news of Zetsu. Summon them all. The man stood up, Jiraiya-sensei, it's time. At this moment you will know the true power of God. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow, but his eyes widened when a tongue appeared out of nowhere, and what looked like a large mouth swallowed the man, and together with the strange creature, they disappeared. Upon seeing Conan, the woman simply gave a powerful flap to her paper wings and disappeared into the sky and the intense rain. The Sannin didn't give her a long look, his feelings told him something was wrong. Before he knew it, he had to jump when a giant crab easily broke through the retaining wall behind them, spewing debris and water at the man. Jiraiya, serious, at this rate, I won't be able to do much, making hand seals, summoning jutsus. Through a cloud of smoke, a magenta toad carrying a shield and a Tsunade in its hands, seeing the emergency, quickly propelled itself forward with its weapon, delivering a powerful blow to the crab. Gamaken, embarrassed, I'm sorry, you moved. I don't think I did it right. Jiraiya looked at the place where that crab came from and noticed a subtle movement in some rocks. Jiraiya, serious, alright Gamaken, you need to give me some time. I need to prepare everything. Gamaken, shyly, I understand, but I'm in a hurry because I'm very clumsy. Before the man knew what had happened, he noticed some creatures on the walls. Before he could continue with that train of thought, a growl made him look at another hole, noticing a large pair of Rinnegan eyes. Jiraiya, serious, okay, that's the main thing, let's go. The toad made a swift movement with its Tsunade, striking the head of a giant dog. As it leaped powerfully, it noticed how the head it had split in half divided, and now there were two heads of the animal. Gamaken, calmly, Okay, let's get out of here. The orange-haired man who saw that from inside just had an impassive face as he spoke calmly. Animal walked, serenely, Sensei, it seems you didn't teach us everything you knew. Then he gave a subtle smile, it's a shame it's not enough to face God. The man didn't attach much importance to the Sannin's strategic retreat, so he simply ordered his summons to prepare for the next battle. With Jiraiya, while on the toad's head, the man bit his thumbs, marking them on his face with blood. Then, with blood on his wrists, he concentrated. The man closed his eyes. The toad, noticing this, slowed down, leaving the man completely still. He drew the shield from his back and assumed a fighting stance, his Tsunade in hand and his senses at their peak. While unseen, Jiraiya's face underwent a slight transformation. After a few seconds, he clapped his hands on the ground, and two significantly smaller clouds of smoke appeared. The cheerful and calm expression he was known for was replaced by a more serious and determined one. In the village of the Leaf, the boys had already given their reports, but the woman sitting at her desk looked at them seriously. Tsunade, serious, I see if that's Itachi's plan. I admire his tenacity, not everyone would accept such a fate. The boys were staring at the ground, it was certainly sad. Rius leaned on Naruto, who seemed serious, gazing at the horizon. Rius, serenely, certainly, a cruel and hard life gives you something. Naruto, calmly, don't say it, Rius. The woman pulled away from his hug, somewhat annoyed by what was happening to Naruto. Sakura, annoyed, what the hell is wrong with you? I don't understand what's wrong with you. You're practically saying he's going to fight to the death with his younger brother. What's wrong with you? Naruto said nothing, but when they looked into his eyes, they noticed that the boy did not care, he simply didn't want them to know he felt sorry for them. Naruto, calmly, it's obvious I feel pity and mixed feelings about this situation, but feeling pity is something no one likes. These are decisions, however painful, someone had to bear the burden. Clenching his fist, I respect Itachi. I've known Itachi since I was 12. I don't know what he felt as he pushed away the person I love most. We don't know how he felt each time he had to push away the person he loves with his own hands. Rius noticed this and went to comfort him, although she wasn't feeling any better herself. Just imagining herself separating from Naruto terrified her, and she tightened her embrace on her partner. Tsunade also had a playful expression on her face, although deep down she respected the man from the Uchiha clan, so she stood up. Tsunade, would be, if that was all, I'll change Sasuke's status to capture but not kill if. Naruto interrupted her at that moment. Naruto, serious, don't do that, grandma. Everyone looked at them, that would lower the threat level. He's already proud. We'll cause more damage if we play with Sasuke's pride. Sakura clenched her fists, but Kakashi put a hand on her shoulder. Kakashi, calmly, I think it's true. If what happened during this time is true, I might do something crazy, since I would consider that taking out an S-rank rogue, and if he's recruited by someone from that organization, would only cause more problems. Sakura saw the worry in the blonde woman's eyes. The blonde Senju, for her part, thought it was true, she knew this was a dirty and somewhat despised move, but it was also a double-edged sword since it would only inflate the ego of a slightly unstable boy. But she nodded, this safe bet was better. Tsunade, serious, that's all. Kakashi, Rius, and Naruto can leave. The clan chiefs meeting will be tonight. An ANBU will bring it. We must deliver that news. The aforementioned agreed and everyone went home. As Sakura left, she didn't look at anyone as she went home. She was angry and knew that she now had no say in any of it. Shino, calmly, I don't think we'll go after this, things will get complicated. Naruto, cheerfully, relax a little, but it's true. Looking at Rius, what do you say we do something together? It's been a while since we relaxed. Maybe we deserve a break from so much training. Rius nodded happily as she kissed her boyfriend. Rius, cheerfully, it's true, a day for the two of us is nice. Looking at the boys, it was a pleasure doing this mission with you. Goodbye. Naruto and Rius said goodbye, they needed to rest from the mission and change their clothes. Hinata just clenched her fists at that. Before that, a cheerful voice was heard. Hana, cheerfully, I see you're here. I've been running some errands. If you're going to drop Akimei off, don't worry, I'll go with him. Don't worry. Hinata clenched her fists as she went home without saying anything and without any desire to do anything. Shino sighs, I don't think doing missions with that partner is fair to her. I don't think she can get over this, or at least not in the short term. The Inuzuka clan woman looked with pity at the woman who was making a great effort not to break down in the middle of the village, so she walked towards her house, but the dejected face did not seem to disappear. Hana, serene, she'll never forgive Kiba. I'm not saying it's not justified, but she's doing herself unnecessary harm. I hope she can have a happy life. Shino didn't say anything more after that, she also walked towards her house. Hana stroked her brother's pet's head and sighed. She didn't dwell on the matter anymore, although she knew perfectly well that if someone had done that to her, she wouldn't have taken it the way she did. So she simply went home. Her mother had told her she had some business to attend to in the afternoon, and from the activity among the clans, she knew a meeting was approaching. She hoped everything would go well for the village. With Naruto and Rius, the couple was happy in their apartment. It was getting late, and neither of them felt like going out. Both were changed and showered after their mission and had decided that watching an anime from Rius's collection would be fine. Rius was happy as Naruto hugged her. They were so engrossed in it that they groaned in disappointment when an ANBU appeared at the door, and Naruto opened it. Naruto, pouting, seriously, it can't be true. That's when I realized he wasn't exactly an ambu. Tsunade, annoyed, seriously, brat, I already warned you. The woman held the blonde man by one ear as she saw Rius approaching. Rius, sighs, so it's time, I'll go turn off the television. Naruto had tears in his eyes as he extended his hands to Rius, who left without looking back. A few seconds later, the pair of women are seen walking calmly through the village streets while Naruto rubs the ear that the blonde had pulled earlier, but he doesn't say anything until he enters the tower. Naruto, annoyed, seriously, do I have to go too? Kakashi-sensei will do it. Tsunade, serenely, it's important because the council is going through many things. With the fall of the advisors, some things had to change, and thanks to some of my most loyal shinobi, they've helped me a lot with the burden of those 3 old men. Naruto chuckled at that. Rius, cheerfully, that's good, with this, it seems someone might regain better control, right? The blonde nodded with a small smile. Thanks to those 2 who uncovered the elder's tricks, the shinobi side had regained control, and the wealthy men with privileges were simply sidelined. They didn't like that, but they could only grunt their displeasure and keep their mouths shut, since they had nothing to say without the corrupt councils that secured their bribes to be heard. Now their demands fell on deaf ears, and they weren't so foolish as to be on the wrong side of any of the village's important clans. They were calm and about to enter the council chamber, but before they opened the door, a chill ran through all 3 of them, as if suddenly a cold air was the only thing they felt in their bodies. In the minds of the 3, worried minds, this is a bad feeling. Without further ado, the Kage woman opened the door, ready to begin the meeting with the clans of her village. In the village of the rain, after Jiraiya's process, he quickly jumped off the head of his summoning when he noticed something and nodded, now sensing some things. Gamaken, feeling the man leave through the dark alley, quickly moved his Sasumata when a tongue seemingly came out of nowhere, almost hitting his face. He quickly jumped when the same dog, which now had 2 heads, lunged at him. Through the alley where Jiraiya departed, at the end of the tunnel, Jiraiya's silhouette could be seen accompanied by 2 smaller pairs of eyes. When the light finally reflected, the man's silhouette was revealed along with the 2 toads on his shoulders. Jiraiya, flexing his arms, it's been a long time since I've used this form. Then he sighed, somewhat annoyed, damn it, I hate this form. Girls aren't attracted to it. He said this as he noticed how the shape of his face gained some warts, his nose grew in size, and his once large and expressive eyes were now small and with a horizontal bar, giving his face a more amphibian appearance. Before he could continue his musings, the 2 small but elderly toads gave him a sharp tap on the cheeks with their tongues. Pa, serious, so this is what we're up against. Gamaken will have some problems. Do you think it was a good idea to bring just him? Ma, would be, you must be careful, Jiraiya-chan. You can't do reckless things if he's the boy with the Rinnegan. Jiraiya nodded calmly as he walked down the corridor, his senses heightened. Before he could say anything else, 2 men appeared in his field of vision below him. Jiraiya, serious, well, this is opportune, I must obtain information. Before saying anything else, he leaped powerfully onto the backs of both figures wearing black capes with red clouds, creating a large crater in the ground. The two figures calmly turned around. When Jiraiya saw his opponents' faces, he clearly noticed the Rinnegan in their eyes. Preta Road, serene, I see that sensei has arrived. Human path, serene, detour to one is something interesting, it seems their skills have improved in recent times. I hope they live up to expectations. Jiraiya became serious as he blocked the rapid attack of one of the subjects. Pa, serious, Jiraiya-chan, keep your distance. Ma, would be, I already have the element ready. Jiraiya, serious, the oil is working well. The two subjects watched impassively as the three launched a combined attack of oil, fire, and wind. The Preta path, which tried to raise its hands at the last minute, decided it wouldn't work, so they simply jumped and, with the help of the other body, propelled Jiraiya forward. He didn't notice, but Ma was faster. Sticking out her tongue, she easily lifted Jiraiya's large body, who threw some kunai, but he and Pa noticed how the man dodged the weapons without even seeing them. Before he could think more about the situation, he had to block a powerful kick to his left side. He blocked it, but the force of the impact sent all three of them flying far away. Jiraiya easily climbed out of the hole in the wall. Before he could say anything else, he noticed Gamaken lunging at him, weapon in hand. All three opened their eyes as the Susumada embedded itself in the wall. Ma was about to say something to the young man, but her words died in her throat when a shriek of pain was heard. The Sannin had to be quick as the animal path lunged at them. Jiraiya, serious, three people with the Rinnegan. It's impossible to even find one. It was a huge shock. Pa, serious, that's true, but keep this in mind, if the energy is very similar. Jiraiya, thinking, physical attacks will surely be useful if we manage to lure them to a secluded place. Good, I'll do that. Human walker, serious, well, it's time. The Sannin noticed the three approaching his position. He quickly blocked and counterattacked, taking advantage of an opening by throwing one of the three into a secluded spot. Ma, it would be, well, separating them is certainly more feasible. The man didn't seem worried as he countered. Animal path, serene, this won't be of much help. Jiraiya growled when the other two caught up to him, but quickly threw a smoke bomb. The human path still had some vision, something the Sannin didn't notice, but he opened his eyes when his fist aimed at the man's back was blocked with great ease. Animal path, calmly, ready but not enough. Ma, would be, impossible, there are no blind spots with these three. Pa, serious, I'm ready Jiraiya-chan, it's time, this is a great opportunity. Pa/Ma sad face serene, demonic illusion, Toad's song of confrontation. The man felt both of them inflate their mouths and a chant came from their mouths. The three boys with the Rinnegan looked around, but before they could move, they realized they couldn't move and fleshy cavities began to form. Jiraiya, serious, now you're paralyzed. I know you can't tell me much, but I always emphasize that you should never underestimate anyone. This counts as a very valuable lesson. Then the Sannin had some strange swords. When they least expected it, the three of them spat blood from their mouths, remaining motionless as the swords pierced their bodies. Pa, serious, it was very difficult, but what should we do now? Jiraiya said nothing upon seeing the boy dead on the floor and silently turned away, feeling some regret for his actions. He was focused on leaving that place to obtain more information when he was surprised by a voice and a strong pressure on his right arm. Kamino Azura, serenely, weren't you the one who told me not to underestimate anyone? Jiraiya stifled a scream of agony as he felt his arm literally ripped from its socket while being sent flying by a strange force. He was not intimidated, however, and quickly recovered, maneuvering his body to land on his feet and crawling across the lake where he fell, losing his sandals in the process. Ma, scared, Jiraiya-chan, your arm. What was that? Pa, serious, no. All three were accurate blows, what was that? Jiraiya held the stump that had once been his arm, it was then that he looked up, his eyes widening when he saw him. Jiraiya, shocked, how come you're Jaiko? Then you. Seeing the other man, he growled, you're not Nagato. What is this? Who is Pain? Jaiko's body took a step forward as he looked at him with an impassive face. Jaiko, calmly, you're right about that. Jaiko died a long time ago, sensei. Now I'm just pain. That's all that matters. Jiraiya frowned at that. Jiraiya, serious, what do you mean by dead? And is it true that Nagato doesn't resemble any of you? And who is Pain, the famous leader of Akatsuki? Jaiko, serious, Nagato and Jaiko don't exist anymore. We are Pain. The six of us are God. Jiraiya frowned even more when he spoke to me. Ma, would be, I'll go, I'll prepare the reverse invocation, we must. Jiraiya, serious, no, I'm already here. It's my duty as one of the three legendary Sannin, as well as your master. Pa, serious, wise mode won't last forever, we must be quick. Jiraiya, serious, summon a sealing toad. We have a chance. If it's Nagato, I must confirm my hypothesis. The two toads watched seriously as the six orange-haired Fugger 6S didn't seem indifferent to the man's situation. Not a second later, Pain's six paths jumped into the lake, restarting the fight with the Sannin, who found it difficult to fight since he only had one arm. A few seconds passed before Jiraiya noticed it. It was the unmistakable Pain and the culmination of Sage Mode. He knew he was in trouble when the two ancient toads abandoned the prayer pose they had been using to gather energy, and his body felt the strain from the fight. The wise toad grunted when he was knocked away with a blow. He managed to land a powerful punch on one of them, causing an adventure that he took advantage of. Kamino Deba, serious, where are the two toads? Before they knew it, two tongues were tightly tied to the feet of the animal, which was quickly dragged into the water. Upon seeing this, Jiraiya also stopped sending chakra to his feet and sank into the lake where, seconds later, a small frog swam calmly towards a space to avoid detection, but the interesting thing happened in his stomach. Pa and Ma Toad saw the man who had cornered them from the beginning. Upon closer inspection, Jiraiya removed the headband from his head. When that happened, he opened his eyes to the image of a shinobi who had fought against him long ago, as the large scar on the man's forehead was self-inflicted. Jiraiya, serious, it's true, he wasn't Nagato, but that was to be expected since it was impossible for there to be six Rinnegan wielders, and his field of vision was so wide, as if they were one. Pa, serious, a valid theory, Jiraiya-chan, but your arm wound is serious, and you've already lost a lot of blood. Ma, it would be, it's time, I'll go get what's needed, come quickly. Jiraiya, serious, no matter what, even if it costs me my life, I must send the complete information. This is my job, I won't leave this unfinished. Pa and Ma looked at the man with something in their eyes. They knew he was stubborn, and now that he had noticed two of his students, he also felt responsible for the actions of that organization. So, no matter how much they begged or even threatened him, he wouldn't change his mind, and the only thing they could do now was help and bring as much information as possible back to the village. Pa, serious, okay Ma, go home. I'll accompany Jiraiya. We need to be ready. I'm sure this won't end like this. The old frog looked at the man seriously, not letting on the pity she suppressed inside, respecting the man she had known since she was a child. Ma, would be, well, I'll be waiting for you. There will be a banquet in your honor, so arrive safely. Jiraiya just smiled and chuckled, giving a subtle nod as the woman left. Jiraiya, calmly, well, it's time. I'm sure Tsunade will be able to decipher something about this body. If my deduction is correct, the village will come up with something in my absence. The old toad watched this seriously, and they both quickly emerged from the toad's stomach, which then exploded into smoke. The five paths only raised their heads when the Sannin quickly went to attack his student Jaiko. Jiraiya, serious, I never thought you three would end up like this. I was told a long time ago that you died. Why was that? The man showed no sign that this was important and walked away, clearing the way for the human and ninjendo paths, which were more suitable for close combat. The man focused on his two adversaries, making it almost impossible for him to notice the two figures approaching from behind, thrusting with black rods that made him groan in pain. He quickly struck the human path, but in his carelessness, he didn't notice the Preta path approaching. By the time he did, it was too late, as the man had already crushed his throat with a powerful blow. In desperation, Jiraiya kicked the man, but his body wouldn't respond. He landed hard on a piece of rubble where Fukasaku was arriving, but he saw him immediately. His eyes were unfocused, his body was breathing slowly, and from what he could tell, he couldn't even hear him anymore. Jiraiya only had a small flashback of his life, his logos, his students too, and with regret all the mistakes he made in his life. Jiraiya, thinking, failure after failure, I must have done something right, I'm sure I didn't. The man was about to close his eyes, succumbing to the weariness of the struggle and finally resting, when some words from long ago brought him back to his senses and he fought to live. In Jiraiya's mind, the image of a 12-year-old Naruto, somewhat bloodied, with Kabuto's kunai embedded in his hand, but his eyes never lost their bravado or self-confidence as he created a clone and a Rasengan. Naruto, determination, don't worry, I won't die until I'm Hokage. Shout, Rasengan. Jiraiya, sounding, you're very confused. It's true that knowing jutsus is very important, but remember, a ninja's worth is defined by the chickens he has. End of memory. Pa was about to teleport to Mount Mayamoko and hopefully take Jiraiya with him, but he was surprised when his cloak moved. He saw Jiraiya's serious face but said nothing. Seeing his eyes, those eyes only radiated the desire to protect and the bravery that always characterized him. Without another word, the toad removed his cloak, allowing Jiraiya to concentrate the little chakra he had left in his finger, leaving a message on his back. He quickly turned around, attempting the reverse summoning again, but was even more surprised when he was covered by a shadow. Seconds later, he was thrown far away from the remaining 5 paths, which plunged more black rods, destroying the small area Jiraiya occupied. Jaiko, calmly, this is different, sensei. Divine judgment will fall upon the earth. The world will know pain. As Jiraiya finished that sentence, his body sank into the lake where the exhaustion of the battle took its deserved toll on his body, but his face slowly formed a smile as he ran out of air and the well-deserved rest arrived. He had one last thought. Jiraiya, thinking, oh, that's right. What should I title my sequel? At that moment, Naruto's smiling face and all the time he'd spent with him since he met him flashed through his mind. Let's think, if the story of Uzumaki Naruto. Yes, that name suits it well. The man wore a serene smile as the air ran out from his lungs before all the air left his lungs and he lost consciousness. A single tear escaped his eye as an image of Naruto and Rius flashed into his mind as his last thought. Jiraiya, regretfully, I think my only regret will be not attending their wedding. With that, Jiraiya's body sank to the bottom of the lake where the little sunlight no longer reached, bringing an end to the legend of the great toad sage of Mount Myomokusen. End of chapter. Part 47. Author's note, these events take place some time before the Jiraiya vs. Pain fight. Leaf Village. A few days had passed since the events in the village. The clans had agreed to respect Itachi's will as a leaf shinobi. They were still not happy with the younger Uchiha's behavior, but if Itachi believed he could change and reconsider, they would give him their support, at least they owed him that. Tsunade was diligently working on her papers when the 2 people she had summoned arrived. Naruto, cheerfully, yes, Grandma, what do you need? The woman just sighed at that, although she scoffed when she saw Rius hit her head. Rius, sighs, you really know Tsunade-sama has important people visiting her from time to time, you shouldn't call her like that. What would happen if it got discovered? Tsunade, sighs, you know it's not easy to make her stubborn head understand, but, looking at Rius, I have something for you. Rius raised an eyebrow, approaching and frowned. Rius, annoyed, I don't want to do it. Naruto raised an eyebrow, but a man opened the door, seeing the 2 teenagers in the office. Serious, that's my escort. I paid a lot of money. She must arrive at the port, Lady Tsunade. Naruto saw the man who exuded only greed and arrogance, he simply took a step forward. Naruto, serious, sir, we make a good team. I'm a jounin and she's a chunin. I don't see what you're worried about. Rias said nothing, suppressing the urge to make the man disappear. Sad face calmly, TSK, fine, I'm Kenji Aishio. My carriage with my eldest daughter will leave in 30 minutes. You 2 brats had better not ruin this. Naruto raised an eyebrow as he watched the man turn around and simply leave. Naruto, curious, okay, I think I'm missing some information and I don't understand anything. Tsunade nodded, looking at Rias, who was not the happiest woman in the world. Tsunade, would be, her mission is to stop that marriage at all costs. That piqued both of their curiosity and calmed the redhead down a bit. Rias, Would be, but since this application is for an escort, why the change of opinion? Tsunade, smiling, right now, they're going to a place you already know, brat. An old friend paid for a mission. The Wasabi family is now the only form of authority in the port, but the Wagarashi family has been working in the shadows again. And if that marriage goes ahead with the Fire Lord's niece, the Wasabi family will have to leave, and it will become a jurisdiction of the Land of Fire. Naruto, curious, that's not good. I mean, it would be an extra extension. I don't understand how the demon won't stay still if he finds out it was us. Tsunade nodded, leaning back in her chair, still with the boys visiting her. Tsunade, calmly, that shouldn't happen. Prepare yourself. The Fire Lord isn't happy if the ceremony takes place. That port has a connection to the Land of Water. What he seeks is to seize maritime exports. If that happens, the treaty between the Land of Fire and the Land of Water will be violated by this land. One of the clauses is that the trial will be held in the Land of Iron. If this new arrangement is discovered without prior notice to the Water Lord, the Land of Fire, and by extension Konoha, and the Land of Water, and by extension Kirigakure, could go to war. Do you understand? That froze the two boys. Naruto's expression changed to a more serious one. Naruto, serious, well, if that's the case, we'll do it. Rius, annoyed, it's just greed. They don't know what that does, and to top it all off, they risk innocent lives out of greed, causing their daughter so much unhappiness. What scum? Naruto put a hand on his shoulder and smiled confidently. Naruto, cheerfully, relax, I know how you feel. I'm sure you're the best for this mission, and I'll support you in whatever you think is best, Databeo. As she said her verbal tick, she blushed at Rius and Tsunade's giggles. Tsunade, cheerfully, alright, remember that this mission is very important since the client paid in advance, trusting in the strength of our shinobi. Rius nodded with determination as Naruto rolled his eyes and glared at her accusingly. Naruto, accusingly, yeah, right, tell me which casino you owed money to, old man. I didn't finish because Tsunade grabbed him by the jacket and threw him with all her might out the window, breaking it in the process. Tsunade, annoyed, how dare that brat. Shizun, sighs, that's right, that group of loan sharks wasn't too happy with the interest rates. The brunette broke out in a cold sweat at Tsunade's angry face, who took a step forward, so she ran off. I'm so sorry, my shift at the hospital is coming up soon, I'm leaving now. Tsunade scoffed and walked to her desk, annoyed by that. Tsunade, annoyed, go to the south gate, he's probably already arrived. Rius nodded rigidly, preferring to go in her magic circles, as she, like Naruto, also had to check if her boyfriend was alright since his scream had suddenly stopped. Rius, embarrassed, yes, Tsunade-sama, we'll leave right now. The blonde simply nodded as she approached her desk, activating the concealment seal that Naruto had placed on it to store some things, taking out a saucer of sake to de-stress. Tsunade, annoyed, that brat, then chuckled, although thanks to this I'm almost debt-free, this deserves a toast clinking glasses. The blonde took her plate when a thought came to her, Jiraiya should already be arriving at the village hidden in the rain. But she snapped out of her thoughts when she heard a noise and noticed that the photo on her desk was one of her hugging Naruto around the neck, while the smiling blonde boy showed off his necklace. Behind them was Shizun, also smiling, holding her pet pig. But to one side, she noticed how the shattering of glass distorted the face of a smiling Jiraiya. The woman put the bottle down, staring at the window with a bad feeling about what was to come, unaware of the cruel news that would arrive in a while. South entrance of the Leaf Village. The man from before was angry as he looked at the Hokage Tower. Kenji, annoyed, how long are you taking? We can't give this bad impression. How annoying. Then I noticed an orange blur heading towards his position at high speed through the air. Before I knew what was happening, Naruto crashed hard into the village wall. Naruto rubbed his head in annoyance while muttering something. Naruto muttered, what debt would that old woman pay? Without further ado, she dusted herself off her clothes, but stopped abruptly when she heard laughter and an amused voice in her head. Kurama, amused, seriously, you spend a week making a seal so your female can fly and you don't even use it? What an idiot you are, you know. Naruto had a vein throbbing on his forehead at that information. Before he could curse his tenant for not giving him the idea while he was in mid-air, he stopped dead in his tracks when a female voice caught his attention. Sad face worried, "Excuse me, but are you alright? Are you hurt?" Naruto smiled at him and quickly shook his head. Naruto, cheerfully, "Oh, relax, I'm an amazing ninja. A 50-year-old woman can't do anything to me. By the way, I'm Naruto Uzumaki." Upon hearing that name, the girl lowered her head slightly. Sad face sigh, "I see, my name is Ishio Akemi, a pleasure then, it's time." Naruto raised an eyebrow. That girl suddenly seemed subdued and resigned. Sensing her emotions, he noticed the deep sadness and betrayal within her. Before saying anything, he noticed the magic circle where his girlfriend emerged. Rius, pouting, "You know, it was only a few seconds, seriously, you're already replacing me." The blonde man rolled his eyes and leaned in to give her a kiss on the lips, which relaxed her a little. Naruto, cheerfully, "You know I would never hurt you, and don't worry, I was just worried." Pointing at the crater behind him, "I still can't believe that old woman is 50. Rius chuckled as she hugged her boyfriend, relieved that he was okay. Just then, a soft voice interrupted them. "Akemi," longingly, "they certainly make a cute couple." Rius took a closer look at the girl. She seemed to be only about 18 years old. She was wearing a light-colored kimono, somewhat ostentatious since it had many gold embellishments. She had a traditional Japanese hairstyle with gold hairpins and her makeup wasn't too heavy. Overall, the girl in front of them looked very beautiful, since even with the kimono she could make out the curve of her chest and wide hips. Rius was about to ask what was happening when a male voice made her look at him with disgust. Kenji, annoyed, "Akemi, I told you that you can't get out of the carriage. You must remain presentable." Then he snarled at the two boys, "I see you've arrived, late indeed. Move it." The girl looked at the boys with some pity and shame. Akemi, embarrassed, "I'm sorry about that, I've always been like this. Excuse me, I'll go." Naruto noticed how the girl looked sadly at her surroundings and with a resigned sigh climbed into the carriage with the help of a girl her age who seemed just as sad. Naruto whispered, "If that's what you felt all this time, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you sooner." Rias just tightened her embrace on her partner and wiped away a tear at her bitter memories. After a resigned sigh, she pulled away from her boyfriend's warmth. Rias, determined, "That's not a happy life, I won't allow it." Naruto simply smiled at his partner. It wasn't in his plans for his two missions to fail. Without further ado, the two shinobi climbed into the back of the carriage and headed towards Wagarashi port. Night in nearby forest. Naruto, calmly, "Alright, your groups can set up camp here. We'll be leaving in the morning." Kenji, serious, "Well, it's true, the formal attire for your presentation and the greetings to the family haven't been chosen yet, so get everything ready for tonight." Then a man appeared agitated. It seemed as if he had been running for a while. Servant, distressed, "Sir, Miss Akemi is missing. We've already searched various places, and no one has found her." The man was angry before doing anything. Naruto approached the furious man. Naruto, calmly, "We'll go. I've already put up a barrier. We'll go out in search of them." The man grunted at that. Kenji, annoyed, "Tisk, fine, I'll pay you for that after all." Naruto resisted the urge to punch the arrogant idiot in the face, but remembered he had his salary in his bag, so he bit his tongue while holding Rias's waist. Just feeling the warmth of her man made her relax. Rias just glared at the man, annoyed, but she stood firm when Naruto guided her to the side of the barrier to get out of it. When they were a considerable distance away, Rias sighed, somewhat wearily, about this topic. Rias, sighs, "So where do you think we should start looking?" Naruto smiled at her, never breaking their embrace, and guided her. They both walked peacefully towards the forest. Naruto, calmly, "She's around here somewhere. Come on, I think talking once in a while is nice, sharing your problems, don't you think?" Rias sighed, she had cried on her boyfriend's chest. He had comforted her and listened. She felt a weight lift from her shoulders, although she knew Naruto didn't fully understand the pain of being hurt like that. She paused for a moment when Akemi's soft voice pulled her from her thoughts. Akemi, serene, everything would happen in a matter of seconds, it would all be so easy. Rias felt a familiar sensation in her chest when she saw him. She had imagined this scenario, everything so easy, but her life, she had dreams, hopes, things to do, and all of that was overshadowed by the chains that a vial being placed upon her. She clenched her fists, suppressing a tear of rage and resentment in her eyes. Then she felt the warmth of her boyfriend leave her. She saw Naruto, saw him smile at her, and a light push on her back. Naruto, cheerfully, go, I'll be here. You know I would never abandon you. Rius gave her partner a grateful look. She calmly approached the girl sitting on the edge of a cliff, her eyes serene, though sad and resigned. Rius, serenely, a lovely view, isn't it? She gazed at the moon with a melancholic smile as a tear escaped her eye. I also remember seeing the end, feeling the relief, searching for an easy way out, trying to find a way out of a life you don't want, right? The girl let out a hollow giggle as a tear escaped from her eye. Akimei, with a broken voice, why do I feel like you understand me on this topic? The redhead nodded calmly and sat on the edge of the cliff, peacefully gazing at the sky and lazily swinging her feet in the air. Rius, serenely, some time ago I had the same problem as you. Akimei, serene, I see how it turned out then, since I see that boy is your partner. Rius frowned and sighed as she stared ahead. Rius, serenely, Naru wasn't my fiancé. Akimei nodded, my parents chose that before I was born, with an important house for the typical preservation of blood and, in general, a strong heir. Akimei nodded, also glancing at the moon or the horizon. Akimei, serene, I see, so it's almost the same. My father, as the fourth son of the previous daimyo, resigned himself to being the sovereign of the land of fire, but that didn't stop him. Besides, he wants some approval from his older brother. The daimyo thinks that if this deal goes through and the country expands, he'll have more opportunities and increase the family's wealth. Rius nodded, clearly knowing why they do these kinds of things. Rius, calmly, I know, and tell me what he's like since you're going to spend your lives together, you should know what he's like. Annoyed, my ex-fiancé was a classic Casanova, an egocentric idiot who only looked for women for his own satisfaction, and in general, an arrogant jerk who saw me as a trophy. The girl grimaced as she lowered her head, shaking her head. Akimei, sadly, I don't know, Dad doesn't tell me much. I only know that he's 22 years old and the son of an influential family. After that, I don't know anything else. Rius clenched her fists, that woman hadn't even seen the man she was supposed to spend her life with. It was so unfair. Before they could say anything, they noticed a kunai near Akimei's head. She opened her eyes as her life flashed before her eyes, but suddenly a blue flash snapped her out of it as they saw the blonde man kick the man's head, sending him tumbling down the cliff from where he had emerged. Naruto, serious, let's go to the caravan, they're getting closer. Rius nodded as she pulled out a kunai and escorted the girl while Naruto created some clones to defuse them and reach the others. Rius, would be, tell me, are they still following us? Naruto shook his head as he increased the energy in his barrier. Naruto, calmly, no, don't worry, I've distracted them for now, but we need to be vigilant. Something else is happening here. Akimei shuddered at the raw experience she had just lived through. She was pulled from her thoughts by a loud, stern voice. Kenji, sternly, Akimei, what is this attitude? We arrive at the port tomorrow, you must. I didn't finish because Naruto stood in front of me, giving me a stern look that made me take a step back. Naruto, calmly, you should rest now, miss. What we went through was a bit traumatic. Relax, I've put up a strong barrier. We'll be safe. The blonde man simply shook his head at the man, who shuddered, as the girl gave him a respectful bow. Akimei, still in shock, yes, see you tomorrow and get some rest. Rius noticed the certain desire and resentment the girl had towards the man and turned away. Rius, would be, you've already lost your daughter. I want you to know that during this journey, your decision lies with you, choose her or lose her forever. The man noticed his escort's back and scoffed, simply going back to his shop. Tomorrow would be a good day for that country. Unknown location. A man is seen sitting in a cave, noticing as four men enter. Sad face calmly, so what they told us is true or what? A man nodded as he knelt before his leader. Sad face calmly, yes sir, it seems they are people from the Leaf Village. They came with them. What should we do? The man sighed at that as he stood up. Sad face calmly, we must be vigilant and inform Daimyo-sama if this is true. We have no other option but to send teams to defend our borders, and we haven't fully recovered from this incursion yet. Shinobi, Rius, Heiao-sama. Without another word, the four men left, while one rubbed his nose where the blond man had kicked him. The following morning, Wagarashi port. A small crowd gathered to see the caravan. Some set off welcome fireworks as someone stepped forward. This was Kuroku Wagarashi, leader of the nearly extinct Wagarashi clan. Kuroku, cheerfully, it's a holiday, they say, to celebrate Miss Akimei's arrival. The crowd applauded as the caravan stopped. Naruto grimaced upon seeing the man he remembered from that time. Akimei, this time dressed in an immaculate white kimono, with more elaborate and refined makeup and her traditional bun neatly styled, stepped out of the carriage. The girl quickly attracted the attention of many boys in the area as she took a few refined steps and, with the courtesy of a high-class lady, bowed to the man who smiled. Akimei, refined, good morning sir, may the quality of the tea and the optimal cultivation give proof of the quality and good taste of the sacred leaf that gives stability and union. The man gave an arrogant smile as he bowed to the girl. Kuroku, cheerfully, thank you and welcome, Lady Akimei. I must introduce my heir, my only son, Shindo Wagarashi, the future heir. Naruto and Rius just clenched their fists at that sight. Seeing the two men, they could only see greed. The pair were simply waiting for the outcome. Rius looked sadly at the girl who had her head bowed in defeat. She became even angrier when she saw some people clearing a path and could only bite her lip and clench her fists tighter when someone revealed themselves. Naruto wasn't doing any better, he just clenched his fists, suppressing the urge to kick the asses of all these fools, especially when he noticed who pushed their way through the crowd. At that moment, people bowed when a 22-year-old man appeared. The young man seemed to have no concept of exercise or diet, as he looked more like a walking ball in elegant clothes. The brown-haired young man wore a black yukata that struggled to stay in place with each step he took. He wore an arrogant smile as he passed by, though Naruto and Rius had to restrain themselves from punching him. The young man had a lustful look when his eyes fell on Akimei. Shindo, arrogantly, I see you've arrived, Akimei-chan. It's a pleasure to finally see you. The poor girl shuddered at that voice that exuded only pure lust. She closed her eyes, hoping her father would do something. She prayed it was just a dream, that she would wake up in her bed with her father's comforting embrace. But the more she thought about it, the crueler the reality she would live seemed. But something made her realize, this wasn't a dream. Kenji, cheerfully, come on, the wedding can begin. The crowd cheered as the big boy was about to claim his prize. Naruto and Rius, weapons in hand, approached. Naruto, serious, attention, we are under enemy attack. Rius quickly approached Akimei to protect her, moving swiftly before the man could touch her. Before that, they heard some voices. Sad face serious, water style, great water dragon. Rius watched in shock as the great water dragon headed towards her group's position. She moved her protege, but Naruto created some clones while making hand seals. Naruto and his clones, serious, earth style, great earth protective dome. Everyone was amazed by the earthen dome that protected them, and someone opened their mouth. Kuroku, serious, protection. Kill all intruders. This is a grave offense. Naruto growled in annoyance, he knew they were in trouble. Naruto, calmly, Rius, let's go, but don't kill anyone. I think I know what's going on. We must have something before we make our move. Rius, whispered, I know, love, but do you think that's actually happened? Naruto, whispered, if I arrive, even if they're fast, it's still far away. It would take about 3 more hours. We need to distract these groups. Rius nodded and Naruto quickly created a clone, let's go out here. You'll be safe. Then a voice resounded. Shindo, annoyed, Akimei is not here. Who has my fiancé? I demand his head. Kenji opened his eyes when he saw Naruto and lunged at him. Kenji, annoyed, bring her now. Naruto simply approached Rius, who had already prepared her magic circle to banish them, and smiled. Naruto, cheerfully, relax, she's safe and she'll be better off than with you. Before the man reached the shinobi, they disappeared into the magic circle, much to the annoyance of both leaders. Outside the dome, Naruto and Rius noticed Akimei's carriage being surrounded. Before that, Naruto and Rius stood protectively in front, watching Kairi's 10 shinobi ready for battle. Naruto, calmly, I see you want something. May I know what it is? A man spoke angrily at that. Shinobi, angry, our nation just finished a war, do you think we won't extinguish the sparks that scum might try to ignite? Naruto nodded as Rius watched intently, but they didn't have time before a group rushed at them. Shinobi, serious, we will not allow this. Naruto blocked those attacks while Rius did what she could against those who attacked her. The girl noticed there were more than she could handle. She saw Naruto and a small group of his clones against 15 of those men. She noticed that 5 were surrounding her. She quickly kicked one of them in the face to pull out her staff, which she extended and infused with her chakra to keep her attackers at bay. Naruto was distracted by his attackers and glancing at Rius. He knew she was strong, but he also knew that being overconfident was dangerous. His thoughts proved true when, in a moment of carelessness, he felt a touch on his side and it was as if his chakra went out of control. Naruto, annoyed, what the hell is this? Then I noticed a man with blue hair, but what caught my attention was the patch over his eye, as well as the bulging veins near that patch. Naruto, in pain, Byakugan, then they'll calm down. The man took a serious step forward. Ao, serious, no, if the Leaf Village is here in this alliance, we won't risk the land of water anymore. Naruto grunted at that, but before that, a carriage appeared out of nowhere, and a serious-looking man stepped out, staring intently at the 2 groups of shinobi. Upon realizing he had an opportunity, Naruto's first thought was of Rius's protection. The blue flash separated Rius as he positioned himself near the carriage. Before he could do anything, the noble-looking gentleman stepped forward. Wink with a frown serious, my name is Kenzo Aoi, feudal lord of the land of Tea. Stop the fighting. Rius noticed how Naruto relaxed, she approached him, sighing slightly. Rius, whispered, what's happening? This is bad. Naruto, whispered, he's a feudal lord. Look behind him. She noticed some men in armor. They're samurai. They consider themselves neutral. If we attack, it's an act of war, and if Samurai Mifune finds out about any defiance, there will be consequences for the village. Rius nodded as she relaxed. Kenzo, serious, so Mr. Jirocho Wasabi, I see you weren't wrong. Naruto sighed as he watched the man step forward. Jirocho, calmly, that's right, ma'am. I took the liberty of informing the Hokage about this, and I see you sent a group. I appreciate that. Naruto smiled at the man. Kenzo, serious, so, can you tell me what Kiri Shinobi is doing in land not annexed to the land of fire? Ao stepped forward for that reason. Ao, serious, Mr. Kenzo, I must apologize, but the Water Nation cannot allow this union, and to think that nothing will be done to invade. Kenzo raised an eyebrow as he watched Naruto and Rius help a girl in a wedding kimono down the stairs. Kenzo, serious, I see, then I can know what's going on. I never had a crush on Miss Akimei, one of the nieces of the fire daimyo. Naruto, serious, we know, and the land of fire wasn't aware either. Thanks to information from the Wasabi family lord, our Hokage accepted the mission, giving information to the daimyo. Making a hand seal, release. When the earthen barrier below was breached, the attackers of the Wagarashi family leaped out with swords in hand, but were quickly stopped by the samurai in the town. Kenzo, serious, the Wagarashi family's status was restored after you were already fined and your assets confiscated. What is this? We must give explanations. The family leader paled at the look before speaking. What an idiot. Did he have to be so arrogant? He didn't read the atmosphere, making the situation worse. Shindo, annoyed, what is this crap, you old idiot? You're interrupting my wedding with this event. The land of fire will unite with the land of tea. Understand that? The clan leader could only turn white as the daimyo stepped forward, escorted by 3 samurai. Kenzo, calmly, I see, Mr. Jirocho, your family is no longer obligated to return the properties of the former Wagarashi family. They have crossed the line. Capture them. The leniency has ended. Previous services do not compensate for this action. Wanting to do this behind my back, the previous treaty will not be broken. The man paled as he noticed the samurai had already captured most of his family. Without thinking, he ran, ignoring his son's cries for help. He collapsed from exhaustion before he could get any further, but Naruto kicked him in the head, knocking him unconscious, and dragged him towards the others. Kenji looked annoyed. He was about to play the victim and try to talk to the Tea Lord to offer a bribe. He knew that if the daimyo found out, he wouldn't come out looking good. Before he could say anything, a serious voice called his attention. Rius, would be, the Hidden Leaf Village hasn't been aware of this either, but our Hokage has already informed our daimyo of the situation since our secondary mission was to prevent this arranged marriage. Kenji saw red and approached Rius menacingly, who remained serious, though her fist was closed, waiting. Kenji, annoyed, you stupid brat, do you know what you've done, you damn idiot. I didn't finish because Rius delivered a powerful blow to his stomach that doubled him over and made him spit out saliva and blood. Rius, smiling, this feels so good. Naruto chuckled as he watched the man gasp for air. Naruto, cheerfully, I still don't know why you withdrew, darling. The couple shared a smile at that, Naruto raising an eyebrow upon seeing a man he recognized as one of the new monks of the Land of Fire. Sad face serious, gentlemen, I come with a message from the daimyo. My name is Ito, new leader of the 12 Guardians. Lord, he approached with a scroll and bowed, please read it. Kenzo-sama. Kenzo opened the scroll with a nod. Kenji, seeing the man from the Land of Fire, gasped and crawled away as best he could. He had to escape. Before he could do anything, he felt a foot on his back, leaving him defenseless. Ao, serious, I'm sorry, but you can't leave. The man groaned but could do nothing to get out of the grip. Kenzo finished reading the scroll and nodded happily. Kenzo, cheerfully, well, this is a day of celebration. The peace treaty between the Land of Water and Fire stands. The Lord of Fire annuls this farce. Kenji's eyes widened at that, especially when the man approached him, taking the emblem of the Land of Fire from his kimono. Kenji, panting, what the shit? You're a piece of shit. Ito, serious, the Lord has issued the decree that from now on the royal family banishes him. If any member of the family accepts him again, the Lord offers a trial to regain his status. The man opened his eyes at that, he was panicked. Before that, the man approached his daughter and bowed to her. Ito, calmly, Miss Akimei, your uncle is awaiting your arrival. He is very sorry for this event and wants to see you to offer his apology. Kenji, seeing that, smiled with relief, he approached because of it. Kenji, relieved, okay, come on, daughter, tell them how you accept me so I can go home. Ito raised an eyebrow as he looked at the girl. Ito, curious, Miss Akimei, do you know this guy? The man smiled at his daughter, but the girl shook her head and turned away. Akimei, would be, no, I've never seen it. Kenji was in shock but quickly became angry. He was about to open his mouth when two kunai landed against his neck. Rius, would be, our duty is to protect Miss Akimei, so move it. Ito, serious, this is considered an attack on the royal family. Go, you still have a chance. Calmly, please, miss, we will go in your care. Kenji paled as he watched a group of 10 samurai from the Land of Fire march towards his daughter's carriage. As Akimei was about to get into the carriage, she approached Naruto and Rius and gave them a hug. Akimei, crying, thank you for this, I will always be indebted, thank you so much. Rius chuckled as she wiped away a tear, relieved that she, like her, could choose her own happiness. Before he could say more, a samurai approached. Samurai, calmly, miss, please follow me. The gentleman expects your arrival as soon as possible. The girl chuckled and nodded. After that, the carriage arranged its belongings and began its journey. Ito approached the Tea Daimyo and Kairis group. Ito, calmly, I apologize for this inconvenience. I ask that this message reach the Water Lord. It is not our intention to cause a conflict, so I sincerely regret this misunderstanding. Ao, sighs, thank you, and if we leave, our circumstances forced us to act this way. We will inform our leader and daimyo. The monk nodded as he bowed and quickened his pace to catch up with his caravan. Naruto and Rius walked calmly towards the group to find out what they should do. The blonde stopped when he saw the man kneeling, staring blankly as the caravan with his daughter drove away without looking back. He just stood there, saying nothing, not even turning around when the blonde spoke. Naruto, calmly, last night I gave you one last chance to turn around. I hope you're happy now, after all, you've already lost your daughter. The man said nothing, holding back tears as the weight of reality struck him so hard and brutally, knowing he had no one to blame for his decisions. Naruto and Rius just laughed. The blonde smiled, but in the distance a cloud of dust caught his attention. Before anything else, the only thing he saw was a foot that crashed into his face, sending him flying. Rius just watched in panic as her boyfriend didn't notice before a smile appeared on his forehead. Sad face cheerfully, "Hello beautiful, my name is Idate Marino. Can I ask what a girl like you is doing here all alone?" Naruto rubbed his head, sensing the familiar energy. He relaxed, forgetting how fast that guy could run. Seeing how quickly he approached Rius, he felt a patented flash in his stomach as he hugged his girlfriend possessively. Naruto, hugging Rius, "She's mine, idiot." The boy was about to lash out, but a voice stopped him in his tracks when it spoke. Jirocho, calmly, "Idate, what are you doing? This is not how we treat our guests." The boy paled. "How have you been, Naruto? It's been a while." "How have you been?" Naruto chuckled at that. Naruto, cheerfully, "It's true, we haven't had any missions nearby. Besides, I imagine raising money to pay off casino debts must be stressful." The man laughed heartily at that. Jirocho, cheerfully, "It's good that you haven't changed, although, looking around, I was hoping the two from your team would arrive too. I'd be happy to see them." Naruto sighed at that. Naruto sighs, "Well, it's a bit complicated since Sakura is now the old woman's disciple, and Sasuke, well, with him it's complicated." Cheerfully, "But don't worry, we're sorting this out, and I have someone I'd like to introduce you to, old man. This is RIAS GREMORY, she's my girlfriend. Isn't she pretty?" The man laughed at the blonde boy's attitude, although Rius smiled a little, even though she was also somewhat saddened by Naruto's behavior. Rius, cheerfully, "It's an honor to meet you, and yes, my name is RIAS GREMORY. It's a pleasure to meet a friend of my boyfriend." Jirocho laughed as the boy looked at the Uzumaki, who, noticing this, laughed while hugging Rius, who snuggled into his chest, making the Marino even more jealous. Jirocho, cheerfully, "It's a pleasure to meet you. What are we doing standing here? Idate, take them to the seamstress and a room. Tsunade will be informed, they can surely stay for the night." Naruto and Rius laughed, happy about it. Rius, happily, "That's true, I'd love to. It's been a while since I've been to a festival, how exciting." Naruto smiled at that. Naruto, cheerfully, "Go ahead, lead the way." Idate just mocked him, he was jealous of that blonde guy, especially when he stared at Rius for longer than he should have, and his jealousy multiplied when he saw the blonde guy kiss her and the redhead enthusiastically returned the affection. Before walking, they noticed how the shinobi from before approached the daimyo while bowing slightly. "Ao, calmly, I'm sorry, we didn't know that the Leaf Village was also against this deal." Naruto laughed and waved goodbye with his classic smile. Naruto, cheerfully, "Don't worry, we're fine and everything went smoothly, so we're all good." The man sighed as the other man also spoke. Kenzo, cheerfully, "Thank you for your help. What do you say we celebrate? We don't want the land of water to just disappear like that after the problems caused by misunderstandings." The man nodded but bowed. Ao, calmly, "I'm sorry, but it's impossible for me. It's better to get this message to the Water Lord, as we're at a critical moment. This is impossible for me, so we decline. We'll leave right now." Kenzo sighs, "If that's the case, I can't force you to stay. I wish you luck on your journey and send my regards. Tell her I'll personally deliver a letter along with the Fire Lord. We've done well during this trial period, perhaps it can be extended." The man nodded, after which the shinobi of the village hidden in the mist leaped into the trees to begin their journey. Naruto, cheerfully, "It's great that this went so well. Come on, let's change those faces. It's a party, isn't it?" The daimyo laughed at that as he nodded to the blonde man. Kenzo, cheerfully, "That's right, thank you once again, and I'll inform the daimyo about this. Thank you for the information." Naruto and Rius nodded happily at this result. The redhead gazed at the horizon where the carriage had departed, relieved that another woman was free from being bound to a heartless being out of selfishness. Naruto, cheerfully, "Come on, what do you say we relax at this festival?" Winking, I think it could be a surprise date, don't you think? Rius laughed as she kissed Naruto's cheek and nodded. Rius, cheerfully, it's true, go ahead, I've never been to a festival since I arrived. Naruto, who understood, laughed and looked at the boy who had a pout on his face. Idate, annoyed, they're finished, move it, will you? Naruto laughed at that as he followed the boy towards the Wasabi family leader's house to prepare for tonight, hoping for a good outcome, even though the pair were unaware of the events taking place far away. End of chapter. Part 48. 2 days later, Naruto and Rius said goodbye to the Wasabi family members. They had been at Wagarashi port during the celebration of the trade treaty between the two nations. Flashback. Rius had been excited to be at the celebration. It was a great experience for her. She had been to Japanese festivals a few times, either with her parents or with members of the nobility, but this was the first time she had gone with her boyfriend. It made her feel like a normal teenager, which thrilled her. Naruto was perfect for the date. Thanks to Lord Jirocho, she had received a beautiful black yukata with a blue design along its edges and a brightly colored tea leaf decoration. She had been very happy with her gift. As she left, she blushed when she saw Naruto. He was also wearing a yukata, but his was a lighter shade of black with a cream-colored wave design. She unconsciously licked her lips at the sight of the blonde boy's slightly exposed chest. Rius's yukata. Naruto wasn't feeling much better. The festival was something new for him. He'd been to a few in the village, but they weren't nearly as exciting as the ones at home. But thanks to his training trip, he was finally enjoying them. He was lost in thought, and before saying anything, he blushed when he saw Rius dressed for the occasion with a traditional hairstyle. He just swallowed hard, but in the end, he smiled at her, which pleased her. She noticed how people were looking at her boyfriend. They were only looking at her with lust and desires she didn't care about. Knowing human nature, she didn't pay much attention to it, but when she saw her partner, a soft, unconscious, loving smile took hold of her. Seeing him, as they always say, the eyes are the window to the soul, she saw only affection and happiness. She laughed when he extended his hand with a loving smile. Yukata from Naruto. Naruto, cheerfully, good evening, thank you for accepting me. This outing looks wonderful in the radiant moonlight. Rius laughed at that. He must have heard it at some point while they were watching anime together, things she didn't care about. She was happy that he shared her love for those things. Rius, happily, thank you for the invitation. She laughed when Naruto offered his arm. What a thoughtful boyfriend I have. She clung to her partner with a smile while Naruto shyly scratched the back of his neck. Naruto, cheerfully, so, what do we do first? According to old Jirocho, the fireworks will be at 12. We have some time. Rius nodded, noticing the atmosphere, kabuki masks, food stalls, and sweets. She didn't know what to do. Then she felt Naruto hug her waist. Seeing him, she smiled, snuggling into him. Rius, cheerfully, we'll walk for a moment, then we'll see what to do, what do you say? The blonde boy chuckled and nodded. After a few minutes, Rius saw the similarity. She stood still for a moment, noticing a small plush toy nearby. It wasn't particularly elaborate, but its shape was somewhat familiar, a bat with black wings and a plump body. It seemed unusual, not a common animal, but a nostalgic look crossed its features. It reminded her so much of her familiar, another thing she had left behind because of her. Naruto noticed that and smiled at her as he led her to that spot. Naruto, cheerfully, come on, it seems you liked it, huh? What kind of serious person would refuse to give a beautiful lady something like this? Rius wiped a tear from her eye as she laughed. She stood behind Naruto, watching as he approached the man who gave him a few chips while pointing at the game. Sir, cheerfully, go ahead with just 3 rings. If you manage to fit the rings in that place, you take what's there. Naruto laughed at the man. He clearly felt him activate a minimal amount of chakra when he threw the first ring, which sent it flying. But the blonde wasn't an A-rank shinobi to be humiliated by a simple game. On his next attempt, the blonde man threw it in a way that was off-center and unstable. When the man activated his technique, the ring stabilized, fitting into the prize he had chosen. The man grunted under his breath at that, more focused on his next move. The blonde still had to score 2 more. Sir, cheerfully, there's one ahead, kid, just 2 more. Naruto chuckled inwardly at that. The blonde boy launched his second attempt. This time, the man in charge unleashed a stronger gust of wind, though Naruto did notice the increase in chakra, so he did it more gently. The disc would have missed by a long shot, but thanks to the man's gust, it rose and hit the target a second time, causing the man to only applaud insincerely. Naruto, cheerfully, not one more. The man nodded with a big fake smile on his face. Sir, cheerfully, that's true, but don't get too confident, this is a game of chance, isn't it? Naruto chuckled as he readied another ring and prepared himself, watching the man. Naruto, cheerfully, I feel very lucky today. After saying that, he threw another ring into the game, where the gust of wind hit it, changing its trajectory to the man's delight. Sir, cheerfully, or better luck next time, tell me, can you choose a small prize on your last throw or what do you say, increase them? Naruto smiled as he gestured with his empty hands, pointing to the plushie. Naruto, cheerfully, I think you owe me that, don't you? The man noticed where the blonde man was pointing and his eyes widened when he saw the 3 rings on the toy. Sir, shock, but like when? Naruto laughed at that, calmly turned around, and picked up the toy. As he passed by, he smiled at the man. Naruto, cheerfully, come on, if you want to use ninjutsu for this, at least make it decent, okay? As he said that, the man swallowed hard, realizing he'd been caught. After that, he just laughed and raised his voice. Sir, cheerfully, we have a winner. Congratulations. The blonde boy laughed at that as he approached Rius, who noticed the offered plushie. Naruto, cheerfully, I don't know what it reminds you of, but you're happy, that relieves me a lot. Rius hugged her teddy bear and kissed her partner while snuggling up to his side. Rius, cheerfully, let's just say it's something I've had since I was a child and it's gone now, it's kind of strange to explain. Naruto nodded. He didn't question her further, he simply laughed when Rius's stomach growled slightly, causing embarrassment to the redhead. Naruto, cheerfully, then let's eat something now. Rius hid her face with her plushie and nodded. She relaxed further in Naruto's embrace as they both looked for something to eat. After a few minutes, Rius and Naruto were sitting on a blanket, enjoying some local dishes and a specialty tea from that country. They both had a pleasant time before deciding what to do next. A voice was heard in the distance. Sir, cheerfully, the audience is asked to be attentive, the fireworks will begin in a few minutes. We ask that you move to the outside. Thank you for your attention. Naruto and Rius were excited to hear that. They quickly stood up. Thanks to Naruto's sealing ability, it wasn't difficult for the pair to move through the crowd. They arrived at a port overlooking the vast sea before them. Before they could even express their thoughts on how large the moon looked, someone spoke. Jirocho, cheerfully, thank you for coming. This show is thanks to the Wasabi family. In honor of knowing that our safety is not at risk, we hope for long prosperity. Without further ado, let the show begin. After saying that, the fireworks began a wonderful spectacle in the sky, illuminating the dark night full of stars that were painted with each color of the event, giving a magical atmosphere to the place while the reflection of all that was seen in the excited eyes of the children and adults of the port. Rius watched the light show in wonder, nestled in a comfortable embrace with her head resting on Naruto's side. She smiled, happy to be there. She was about to speak, to say something to Naruto, but seeing him, her breath caught in her throat. Her partner wore a warm smile as he gazed at the sky. Rius noticed how his blue eyes reflected the lights, and with each burst of color, the sky seemed more majestic to her. Naruto felt something strange beside him when he saw Rius. He blushed at her expression, she smiled at him as her red hair shone brightly, outshining every other color in the sky. The blonde boy didn't know what had happened, his mind going blank, unaware that his girlfriend had felt the same. They didn't notice how the spectacle ended, leaving only the moonlight as a final firework soared into the sky. Neither of them saw it as the blonde boy lowered his head, and Rius stood on her tiptoes to intercept her boyfriend's movement. As their lips met in a loving kiss, the firework blocked the moon with a grand, final explosion of brilliant yellow and red. But neither of them paid it any mind as they expressed their love with that sincere affection. End of flashback. Rius smiled at those memories of her visit to this place. She was somewhat distracted at that moment until she heard Naruto's voice. Naruto, cheerfully, "It was a pleasure, Mr. Jirocho, and thank you for the gifts and the hospitality." Jirocho laughed at that while giving him a slight bow. Jirocho, cheerfully, "It's me who should be thanking you. Thanks to both of you, this country can breathe easy and even have an opportunity for expansion, this time in the right way, so we owe you that." Naruto laughed as he scratched the back of his neck at those choices. Rius also bowed to her. They had allowed her to keep the yukata she wore on her date with Naruto, which pleased her since in a short time she had some wonderful memories of their courtship, things she would treasure for the rest of her life. Rius, happily, "It's true, I'm very grateful for everything you've done for me during this time." "Thank you for everything." The man smiled and raised his hand as he noticed them begin to walk. Jirocho, cheerfully, "It's not small at all, and thank you for what you did for us. I wish you prosperity, and remember that Wagarashi port will be happy to receive you. Have a good trip." The couple waved goodbye when they were a safe distance away and began their walk, allowing those who had come to see them off to return to their daily activities. The couple were happy as they reminisced about their most recent date. The duo was lost in their conversation when a chill ran down their spines. They both stopped. They had ignored this feeling before. It was almost the same thing during the mission to bring Itachi back, and the same thought of Jiraiya struck them. Without a word, the couple climbed down from the trees, and Rius prepared her magic circle, both unaware of the shocking news they were about to receive. Village of Leaves. The weather was cloudy, dark clouds adorned the village. The Hokage Tower, so imposing, rose above the village, watched over by the 5 stone faces. This time it felt different. Its imposing presence seemed to be overshadowed by a certain air of nostalgia and sadness when a powerful explosion of smoke rose imposingly outside the office. Tsunade was working on her paperwork when smoke obscured her window. She stood up, ready for an attack, but sighed in relief when she saw the great toad chief Gamabunta. On his head was his son Gamakichi, who was carrying 2 toads. One of them looked like a kind of seat, and on top of it was Fukasaku, who had several bandages on his body. They both stared back at her. Tsunade, sighs, "I see that your mission has concluded." And the blonde Senju stopped when she didn't see the classic carefree smile, those lustful eyes, and no taunts about losing reached her ears. She saw the small toad with its head down and spoke in a solemn tone. Fukasaku, calmly, "Tsunade-chan, do you think I can come in? We need to talk." The blonde suppressed her emotions and nodded as she stepped aside. Gamabunta extended his tongue, allowing the small, seat-shaped toad to move to the office. It quickly positioned itself in front of her desk. The blonde Hokage settled into her seat, swiftly assuming her Hokage mode. "Tsunade, serenely, please tell me what happened, Fukasaku-sama." The wise toad nodded, already organizing his thoughts, knowing that it would do no good to sweeten his words. "Pa," solemnly, "it's as you think, Tsunade-chan. Jiraiya-chan died in combat at the hands of the Akatsuki leader, Pain." Tsunade felt a knot in her chest, suppressing her tears. She nodded. Fukasaku understood the Hokage and said nothing, letting her gather her thoughts. But the woman didn't know how, so she sighed and spoke into her communicator. "Tsunade, calmly, Shizun, please bring Kakashi and Shikamaru here. Hurry." The blonde woman turned around. She knew she had to stay strong during her work hours, but it was difficult. Every time she looked out her window, it was impossible not to see the man's cheerful smile as he rested against it. About 10 minutes passed when there was a knock at the door and Shizun entered, followed by Kakashi and Shikamaru. The 3 of them knew that something was wrong since Jiraiya's summoning was in the village but the Sannin was not. "Kakashi, serious, so you have bad news, from what I'm seeing." Tsunade turned around, facing her shinobi, and nodded, looking at the little frog who sighed at that. "Pa," calmly, "Yes, I've come to inform you of Jiraiya-chan's passing on his recent mission. I've come to find Naruto and Rius-chan." Everyone understood, lowering their heads in response but remaining calm, aware of the current situation. Kakashi, calmly, "If I remember correctly, they're on a mission." Tsunade sighed at that, leaning back in her seat. Tsunade, serenely, "That's true. As far as I knew, that mission should have ended yesterday, but sometimes they say they'll return quickly. I hope this time they decide to pick up the pace." At that moment, Tsunade was alerted to the arrival of a magic circle. The woman sighed at this. She had asked Naruto to create an alert for these magic circles since she had received some complaints from her guards about them appearing unexpectedly. However, it was more because the guards, believing they were about to be attacked, would attack, but Naruto and Rius were always faster and were the ones who were neutralized. Tsunade, calmly, Kakashi, go to the south gate and bring them here, will you? The Jounin sensed it, and without saying more, he performed a sunshine to arrive quickly. The others in the room were simply lost in their thoughts about what this meant for the village in these times. Unknown location. The members of Akatsuki were seen. Pain was calm as always, watching all the holograms in the cave. Pain, calmly, that's the situation. Deidara is dead now, I suppose. Toby, the aforementioned person became alarmed upon being called in this icy tone, becoming nervous. Toby, panic, yes, unfortunately, yes, Leader Sama, he blew himself up. The man intensified his gaze, but Sasuke Uchiha was also blown up. Come on, it was the same, wasn't it? Pain, calmly, alright, focus on capturing the 8 tails. I'll recover my energy for now. I'll personally take care of the 9 tails. With that, you can go. Without further ado, the hologram of Pain and Conan left, leaving Toby, Itachi, and Kisame, who chuckled to himself. Kisame, cheerfully, I understand. Now you're the last of the Uchiha clan. Wow, I should take you to a zoo, don't you think? Toby, childishly, oh, it's true, look at it, like something in danger, don't you think? Itachi simply directed his cold eyes at the masked man, who was startled by that. Itachi, calmly, I will fulfill my duties. I will leave now. Without another word, Itachi left, followed by Kisame, who was chuckling to himself. Noticing he was alone, Toby glanced to the side at the last figure beside him, but they remained silent, having abandoned their facade. Toby, calmly, so the leader defeated a Sannin. Good to know. You already have the preparations. The plant man chuckled at that. Zetsu, cheerfully, yes, Sir Madara, I already have what you need. Even Kisame collaborated, although without realizing it. Toby smiled amusedly behind his mask. Toby, cheerfully, good to know, I know that for him, using the Rinnegan represents a considerable expenditure of energy, although, amused, it's good that he's an Uzumaki, isn't it? They both shared a few giggles, but in the end Zetsu spoke. Zetsu, cheerfully, so my lord believes that Uzumaki will defeat Pain. The man struck an exaggerated pose of thought, though in the end he chuckled. Toby, cheerfully, I don't know, but well, that's what's interesting about the game. You never know what your opponent's move will be, although, in a dark voice, the pieces you lose don't really matter as long as you win the game, right? After saying that, the duo simply left, leaving the gloomy cave empty and with an air of gloom after their previous conversation. Distant cave. Itachi, who was sitting peacefully on a nearby rock, opened his eyes when he heard a giggle. Kisame, cheerfully, so what do you do now that he's dead? Itachi noticed the torrential rain outside the cave. The boys simply stepped out of the cave's safety. The renegade Uchiha said nothing as he let the rain soak him, he didn't even care what his companion said. Kisame, calmly, so what do we do? I thought you wanted to do something with your little brother. What will you do now? Itachi never stopped looking at the sky with his always serene face, but in the end a smile appeared on his face. Itachi, calmly, the plan is still on, let's go. Kisame noticed the Uchiha leaving in the rain and growled. Kisame, annoyed, what? But you don't even notice the rain. Hey, listen to me. He grunted in annoyance but continued to follow his Akatsuki partner. Leaf Village. At the south exit, Naruto and Rius stepped out of the magic circle Rius had used to speed up their arrival. They were about to complete the entry paperwork when they noticed Kakashi. The man seemed calm as always, but Naruto knew better, they were hiding something. Naruto, serene, Kakashi-sensei, something happened. Rius felt a chill run down her spine, they both knew something was wrong, and the man's posture wasn't helping to ease her anxieties. Kakashi, calmly, come on, the Hokage needs to speak with you. Let's hurry, it's urgent. Naruto swallowed hard, he was anxious and exasperated because they couldn't say it quickly. The intrigue and that strange feeling in his stomach were things he didn't like. Rius was the same, she didn't know what had happened in his absence. In an attempt to comfort him, she hugged her partner. The blonde man thanked his partner for the affection, and with that, they both followed the man who began to walk in front of them. The lively streets of the village gave way to the group who soon arrived at the tower where Naruto opened his eyes upon hearing his girlfriend. Rius, shock, I never in my life thought a toad would grow so big. Naruto shook himself off, but when he raised his head, the boy made contact with the toad chief Gamabunta and his son Gamakichi above his head and greeted them with a smile. Naruto, cheerfully, oh, hello boss and Kichi, it's been a while. What brings you here? Gamakichi, solemnly, you see, Naruto is. He stopped when his father's voice scolded him. Gamabunta, serious, Kichi, this isn't your place to tell them. He moved his head to expel the smoke from his mouth and saw Naruto. Come in, I think there's news. Naruto opened his eyes, noticing the presence of the old toad and the sad emotions. He clenched his fist. Naruto, whispered, I can't sense the perverted sage's chakra. Naruto saw Tsunade's office window and ran through the door to go upstairs. Upon hearing her boyfriend, Rius quickly followed his lead towards the office. Kakashi sighed upon learning what had happened. Kakashi, solemnly, now I see that sensing energies and emotions is a double-edged sword. Without further ado, Kakashi quickened his pace to catch up with them. Tsunade's office. The blonde was already feeling better, she still couldn't say much, but she managed to stay calm until the meeting was over. Fukasaku looked at the door, as did the others, upon hearing the quick footsteps of two people before the door slammed open. Naruto, panic, tell me if he's okay, where is he? Rius arrived quickly, holding Naruto, who unconsciously relaxed, but Tsunade noticed the panic in the blonde's eyes, mentally grateful for Rius's presence at this moment. Fukasaku sighed, knowing now that he couldn't sweeten the cruel news, though bitterly thinking that it was impossible to sweeten something like this. Calmly, Naruto-chan, I don't think there's any way, so listen carefully. Jiraiya-chan succumbed in his recent mission to the Akatsuki leader. Rius tensed in the hug, incredulous at the news. Naruto, for his part, opened his eyes, this was impossible in his mind. During that training trip, he noticed his improvement, but even so, fighting against Jiraiya was never easy. Naruto, shocked, but when he... Clenching his fists, you let him go alone, didn't you? The blonde man looked at Tsunade, who remained unfazed by his angry and frustrated expression and nodded firmly. Tsunade, serenely, that's right, he found information about the Akatsuki leader and accepted the mission. Naruto clenched his fists, but before he could reply, Rius stopped him, also suppressing her tears in order to bring some sense to the situation. Rius, serious, Naruto, calm down. There must be something else. Please listen. The blonde man bit his lower lip, tears welling in the corners of his eyes, but he nodded serenely. Tsunade nodded gratefully to Rius and continued. Tsunade, serenely, he refused to send a support team for this, deciding instead to gather information for the village in support of our fight against Akatsuki. Naruto nodded as he looked at the still angry Toad Sage and didn't know how to talk to the Senju woman. Naruto, calmly, then I would assume you've come with me for something more, wouldn't you? The old toad nodded firmly with his next words. Serious, this is important because if valuable information was obtained and Jiraiya confirmed your strength, you will have training on Mount Myomokusen. The blonde man still didn't understand much of this, although it was more than his mind could concentrate, making an ever-increasing effort not to break down under the pressure of the situation. Naruto, calmly, I'll think about it. Despite his anger and rage, he gently separated Rius's arms and softly opened the door. If he were Hokage, he would never let you go alone on such a dangerous mission. Without another word, the blonde boy simply left. Naruto Uzumaki still didn't know what to do or think. For the first time, he didn't know what was happening or how to continue on his way. His gaze unfocused, everyone knew something was wrong when the blonde boy closed the door calmly with a soft click. Rius saw the door through which her partner had left. She was conflicted, she too was grieving the man's death. She was torn between going out to see if he was alright, but now she knew it was more important to find out what was happening. Tsunade, serenely, go after him, you don't have to tell anyone. Whispering, please let me know if he's alright. Rius saw the woman, she knew that the woman was doing everything possible to remain calm, or at least now that there were people around. Rius, conflicted, yes, but... Are you sure? Calmly, calm down, make sure Naruto-chan is okay. We have some time, we'll explain later. Now go. Rius nodded. The blonde had a slight advantage, but quickly went after his partner, knowing he wasn't well. In a short time, she knew him better than anyone. With Naruto, the blonde boy walked calmly through the village, ignoring the bustling streets. It wasn't even noon yet, but it seemed quite late thanks to the dark clouds in the sky. Before continuing his aimless walk, he tightened the zipper of his jacket. The blonde man couldn't let his thoughts wander. Everything in his mind since receiving the news of his master's death unconsciously led back to those moments when he first met him. Just then, a gust of wind hit him as some leaves moved, subtly ruffling his hair. A small smile appeared on his face as he remembered how he got his current outfit. He was lost in his memories when a cheerful voice abruptly pulled him out. Irika, cheerfully, "Oh Naruto, I heard you went on a mission. What do you say we tell each other everything at Ichiraku Ramen?" Naruto walked past, keeping his head down. Naruto, calmly, "No, not today. I'm sorry, I'm not in the mood." The academy teacher raised an eyebrow at that. Naruto, refusing a ramen, was about to stop the blonde boy and ask him to explain, but he couldn't do anything since the boy simply walked past, still unaware of what was happening. Irika noticed that the boy didn't stop walking. The man looked ahead at the 4 stone cards. Irika, serious, maybe Tsunade-sama knows what's going on. The man ran for a bit, then noticed a shock of red hair that seemed to be desperately searching for something. The man approached, remembering that the girl was his student's girlfriend, but before he could say anything, the girl stepped forward with a worried voice. "Rius, worried, excuse me, Irika-san, but have you seen Naru? I need to know where she went." Irika raised an eyebrow. The girl seemed somewhat worried, and he interpreted that as setting off alarm bells. Irika, calmly, "Yes, but can I know what happened?" The girl looked dejected, her shoulders slumped, also holding back her tears. "Rius, sadly, we returned from a mission today, and Tsunade-sama informed us that Jiraiya-sama passed away on his mission and simply left after that. She sent me after him, but I don't know where he went." The academy professor opened his eyes in shock. A Sannin, a member of a legendary team and a student of the third, was killed by whom? He shook, seeing the girl and pointing behind him. Irika, calmly, "Now I understand. He went that way. He's probably wandering aimlessly. I know it's best to leave him alone, but please keep an eye on him." Rius nodded and quickly picked up her pace. She needed to make sure her boyfriend was okay and offer him support during this difficult time, even though she wasn't okay either. Upon seeing the girl, Irika shook himself. He had to know what happened. Someone capable of defeating a Sannin wasn't safe. In the Hokage's office, after the couple left, the wise toad spoke. "Pa," calmly, "I knew it wouldn't be easy. He idolized Jiraiya-chan a lot." Tsunade, serene, "Yes, they both had a very strong bond." Kakashi, calmly, "That's true, but I think we shouldn't let this be in vain. Surely Master Jiraiya left some information, right?" After those words, everyone became serious. It wouldn't be fair for what happened to be in vain. Pa, calmly, "If it seems there are 6 people with the Rinnegan," ignoring the incredulous looks, "we have one of them in our possession. Jiraiya managed to obtain one of those bodies." Tsunade, serious, "Alright Shizun, you're in charge of the autopsy. I want the results as soon as possible. Now go." Without further ado, Fukasaku made some hand gestures and a blue toad appeared and jumped onto Shizun's shoulder. Shizun, serious, "I'll leave now, I'll be quick, I promise." Tsunade nodded, trusting her most experienced student. The brunette gave her teacher a solemn look, knowing she was holding back with all her might, but she also knew it wasn't easy to maintain that attitude for long. When the woman closed the door, the toad continued. Pa, calmly, "That will be good now," taking off his cloak, "This is Jiraiya-chan's last message. He discovered something, but suffered severe throat damage, so we don't know what it is." Tsunade, would be, "Alright Shikamaru, go get the encoding team to take a picture and review all the data. That message needs to be deciphered quickly. I expect fast results." Shikamaru, shocked, "What? But I have a job, and what about the villages?" The pineapple-haired boy shuddered at the Hokage's gaze, clearly saying, "I don't care." Tsunade, serious, "After that, is there anything else you need to tell us? Pa, serious, if Naruto's training is useful, if we want to win this fight, Sage Mode is our last option. Please let me know quickly. Eyes darken, we don't have much time, we must make it count. The Senju woman nodded serenely at that information. Tsunade, would be, okay, I'll talk to him. Could you please follow Kakashi and Shikamaru? We need a photo of the message, please. The toad nodded and without another word they left the office in silence. When the door closed with a soft click, the woman also noticed how the toad boss left in a puff of smoke, looking up at the sky with a sad smile on his face. Tsunade, sadly, I think I won this bet, didn't I? Getting up, I need a drink. The woman left the office, maintaining her usual imposing posture. No one said much upon seeing her. The woman calmly entered the tower's corridors to reach her private quarters, far from prying eyes. The woman managed to maintain the facade for a while, but upon reaching a dark place away from all eyes, she leaned against the wall and her true feelings surfaced. Tsunade, crying, you're a big idiot.